Hello, lovely people. Oh. There, now it's showing my countdown. So your lag is even longer than my lag.
Oh, here we go. I see it now.
Okay.
I didn't know if you were doing a countdown or not.
And we have it set in OBS that on the countdown the microphone is cut, right? Okay. Okay. Okay, that's all right. We can just wait for the countdown to finish. Hello, lovely people. Crossing my fingers that this is all working because this is my first time streaming on YouTube ever. So thank you for being here. I have my computer just down below, so when you see me staring that direction, it's because I am just adjusting my computer screen so that I can see all of the comments. There we go. So I'm looking forward to hanging out with you guys this evening. Okay, so far I can see a couple people of you here watching live. Good morning from Australia. Hello, Melinda. Chicagoland. Hello, Teresa. It's good to see you. Jacksonville, Florida. Yes. Okay, perfect. So I can see some comments rolling in. If you guys wouldn't mind like hitting the heart button, or if there's a thumbs up button, try hitting that too. So like I said, my main experience with streaming online is like going live on Instagram, just like from my phone, or streaming on Facebook, doing Facebook Live. So YouTube is a new avenue for me that I'm excited to play with more and hang out with y'all. I've heard good things about streaming on YouTube, especially within the Quiltiverse. So I'm hoping that we can hang out together and I can kind of test out some of these features. So first things first, please be gentle as we work through any issues that we might have. But luckily I have my tech guru in the background who is blessing this situation with his tech expertise. But we will do our best to just make sure that things stay on track. So let's see. Teresa says, hear you loud and clear, my friend. Awesome. Thank you so much. The feedback is so helpful. I also have Andrew watching the live stream as a viewer. So hopefully if he's quiet, it means that everything is working fine. So yeah, so I thought it would be fun to do a live stream primarily because I really wanted to show you, not to like, okay, knock on wood, because I'm about to brag about like our tech setup that I have for my quilting classes, hoping that this, will not get jinxed. But Andrew and I have worked really hard over the last few years, especially to have a really nice camera angle situation going on for when I teach quilting classes. So hopefully this live stream will give you a good opportunity to see kind of what the vibe is when I do my live stream quilting classes, my free motion quilting classes, so you can kind of get a view of that. So I thought I would first show you the different angles of cameras that I use while I'm teaching. It's funny because when I first started teaching online back in 2017, we were streaming on Facebook with literally my phone. like just my phone's camera. And we had it on a tripod, and every time I would change angles, Andrew would like hold the tripod and like tilt it up against a piece of plywood to like get the right angle. And I didn't have like a professional microphone where you could hear me really nicely, or a noise canceling microphone so that I could talk and quilt at the same time. Anyways, it's very, very primitive. But over the last almost 10 years since I've been teaching online, we've worked really hard to get a really nice setup that is comfortable, and it's really like you're sitting on my lap while I teach you how to quilt. And so I'm excited to show you those angles. Hello, Pamela from Orem, Utah. Hello, it's good to see y'all. Okay, so let me show you. So this is the main camera angle where you get the best view. And then in my software, I can move to the iPad where I like to do some drawing demonstrations. So as I'm teaching quilting, it's obviously very helpful sometimes to be able to see the exact path of the quilting as we're practicing it. And so the cool thing about this setup is that you can see the path that I'm drawing without my hand getting in the way. So that's really super cool. And then I also have an overhead camera here. You can see my spirit fingers. And so as I'm demonstrating different techniques that have to do with, you know, laying out a piece of fabric and having that be nice and visible, my nice overhead camera really does the trick. And then sometimes if I'm trying to show people things up close and personal, we can do that as well, which is really cool. So as we know with quilting, there's lots of times that we need to be able to see things. And so having that overhead camera is really nice. And then of course a quilting angle camera. So let me show you the full view of when I have my fabric underneath. You can see really nicely that quilting angle as I'm quilting different stitches. So that gives you a little kind of sneak peek into when I teach my online classes, kind of what you can expect. The iPad view is super cool. Thank you, Melinda. Yeah, I agree. I remember when I first started teaching, like the first quilting class that I ever taught was in 2015, and I was traveling all around to teach. I went to Australia, Melinda, and I was just drawing on a whiteboard, and I had to like make sure I could turn my body the right way so people could not only see the drawing, but see the path that I was taking. And then when the iPad Pro came out with the Apple Pencil, that like revolutionized things, because I was able to project the screen of my iPad onto the wall or the projector, and people can see just that view. And so, yeah, technology blows my mind, and I am very fortunate to be married to a computer whisperer who doesn't mind getting paid in quality time and other benefits to help me make sure that I have a really, really good, strong, supportive quilting and teaching setup, so that when I teach my classes, I can give you the absolute most information in a really organized, nice way. Another thing that's really cool about when I teach my online classes is, even though I'm streaming and doing that live and I can see people's comments rolling in as I'm teaching, I also record all of that footage. And then when I'm repurposing and editing that footage, I put it back into the textbook. This graffiti quilting monstrosity of a textbook, I can edit those videos and polish them up even a little bit more, so that when you are working through the online content of the graffiti quilting class, it's just beautiful and looks very, very professional, which I like to try to be as professional as possible, especially to make up for the lack of professionalism that sometimes I have during class when I'm telling dirty jokes and trying not to say swear words, always for fun. So Melinda says, one of the best setups I have seen. Shout out to the techie partners. Thank you. And Andrew says, thank you. So yeah, so teaching online quilting classes, that's kind of my main shtick, my main bread and butter. It's what allows me to, I don't know, have an awesome career. I really, really love it a lot. And so teaching it's cool to have like this kind of nice setup where I have my mega desk and all of my different tools at my disposal. So I was hoping that with this live stream, we could kind of do like a Q&A. So as we go throughout it, since you're here and you're watching live, or for those of you that are watching live at least, please do not hesitate to put in the comments section any questions or thoughts or anything that you have, because I thought it'd be kind of fun to just show you how much of a dancing monkey I can be, and we can talk about anything quilting that you want to talk about. I have this quilt right here that I've been working on and quilting, so this is my in progress piece. But I thought it would also be fun to set up a brand new quilt top, and I picked out some of my favorite thread colors that I thought would look really nice with this really pretty silver satin fabric. So I can definitely do some quilting demonstration. I can do some drawing demonstrations on my iPad. And then I also have some fun stuff that I thought would be cool to give away. And I'm still trying to figure out the best way to do a giveaway live in this way. Like, I thought maybe it'd be fun to like do trivia questions for like to win the prizes. I don't know. So I'm all ears, but I am definitely in a let's clean out the studio, because a clean, happy studio is a clean, happy mind. I'm working on this like kind of purging a lot of stuff. You know, when you've been a professional quilter for 15 years, it's easy to start kind of collecting things. And I now have a studio filled with lots of amazing finished quilts, but also lots of projects that either like just don't spark joy anymore, or they're just things that simply have fallen through the cracks because I have continuously bitten off more than I can chew for 15 years straight. And so I'm trying to kind of adjust that a little bit. So like I said, I have a bunch of prizes down here that I would love to give away and share. So let me know, since you guys are watching here live, how you would like to do that. Tell me what you want, what you really, really want. So yeah, it's awesome to see. Let me make sure I can see the comments coming through. Janet says hello from College Park, Maryland. Amazing. Love Maryland area. New England area. I've been to, okay, I haven't been to Maryland. I've been to New Hampshire, and I think Vermont. Is it Vermont that has, is it Rye, Vermont, that's like 11 miles of coastline? I've been there before, had some really good chowder. So hello, Janet from Maryland. Melinda says, if clean means I am happy, I will never be that definition. No, you can be happy in multiple ways, but one of them can be clean. No, I have found that like I'm learning how to kind of edit myself as an artist and as a designer and as a teacher. And you know how we are with quilting, where like right when we jump into something, or I'll just speak for myself. I've learned about my own personality that when I find something that's exciting and intriguing, I kind of dive in the deep end and then think like, oh snap, I should have brought a life jacket with me. Like I leap first and then hope for the best. And so, which I don't think is a bad thing, but it has enabled me to accumulate more things. And so I'm ready to pass some of those things on and share them with other people. And also some of the prizes I have are just some of the things that are like my favorite things in my studio that I want to share with you. So yeah, I have some batting. I have some metallic yarn. I have some custom printed fabric. I have a finished quilt that I quilted that I'm happy to share. So if you have an idea of how I should divvy out all of this stuff, TL, then tell me. Let's see. Shoefly Quilts, watching from the farmlands of Wolcott, Indiana. Hello, Shoefly Quilts. Hello from Nebraska. Hello, Celeste. It's good to see you. Awesome. Okay, so if you have any questions, I'm here. I am all ears. I have this quilt sandwich put together that I thought would be fun to do some quilting on. So we can do some of that. So tell me what you want to see. All right, and thank you for bearing with me as well, because like I said, I'm new to streaming on YouTube. And so I just am like, there's a little part of me that's paranoid that it's like, what if I start talking to nobody and nobody's actually watching? So first of all, thank you for being here. But then also, if you catch me glimpsing downwards, it's just my computer making sure that things are going okay. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about graffiti quilting. So if you are watching this, chances are you have heard of graffiti quilting if you've heard of me. Like I said, teaching free motion quilting classes is my bread and butter of my livelihood. And so I thought it would be fun to just do some real-time graffiti quilting on this fabric and kind of show off a little bit. And so as I'm doing that, you can tell me like if there's a specific motif that you want to see, or a certain design or a filler design. I would love to show that to you and just kind of show you how we can stay loose. So Celeste says no rules quilting. And yes, I would agree, especially with graffiti quilting. I wouldn't call them rules. I would call them tips and tricks and guidelines, because they all can inform your quilting. But at the end of the day, like, I'm not going to be there to force you to do anything. So what I like to do is show different tips and tricks for how I like to quilt, and you can take from it what you want to. And anything that you don't like or don't enjoy, that's okay. You can leave it on the table. So let's go to the overhead camera really quick. And oh, and by the way, I know there's a little bit of a lag when I am live streaming versus when you see it and then comment. So I will do my best to keep the comments, like keep watching the comments. But I think what we're gonna do to keep this kind of fast and loose tonight is like first come, first serve. So in the comments, since they go in order, if you like answer a question or if you make a request, we will go in the order that those come in. Melinda says, do you put a limit on the number of arrows you stitch in your designs? I would say no, not a specific limit. What I do try to do in my quilting though is try to keep it rounded out, where I am giving all of the motifs that I know or all of the tools that are in my toolbox of designs equal opportunity to shine. So while I do put arrows in my quilts, I wouldn't typically say that I will only do 5 or only do 3 or have to do at least 6 or something like that. Like, it's never really a concrete quantitative number of arrows. It's more of just how does the arrow motif fit into the overall composition of the quilt. So that's kind of how I tackle that. Melinda, tell me more about your background with quilting. It sounds like because you knew of the arrows and how those are iconic to graffiti quilting, what experience do you have with graffiti quilting? Because I'd love to talk about that further and we can kind of dissect that together here tonight. Okay, so let me go to my overhead camera. All right, so I have picked out 3 thread colors that I thought would be really pretty on this silver satin fabric. So the first one in the comment section to tell me what color should we use, green, blue, or purple. So I'm gonna move those to the side and just reorganize my sandwich a little bit better. So a lot of times when I'm doing quilting on a smaller sandwich like this, I typically like to spray it with quilt basting spray, but I didn't do that tonight to prepare because I kind of wanted to prep my quilt sandwich on camera, but I also don't want to use quilt basting spray around my computer because I don't want to get overspray on it. So anyways, but that's okay. I have my 3 layers of my quilt sandwich. So this is just some scrap fabric that I had, and then 1 layer of warm and natural batting, and then my layer of satin silky silver fabric. Now, the cool thing about this fabric is that because graffiti quilting is so incredibly dense in the quilting, these wrinkles are going to come out by the time I'm done quilting it. And I could also block it or wash it or even iron it after I'm done quilting. Okay, so the color is purple. Jocelyn, what's up, girl? Good choice with the color. Okay, so we're gonna do this purple. Now with graffiti quilting, with most quilting, but especially with graffiti quilting, I really like to always match my bobbin thread with my top thread, because even if your tension is set like absolutely perfectly, sometimes it's still possible to have like little tension issues just because I'm quilting so densely. So I like to just match my bobbin thread with my top thread so that I can either hide any of those little tension whoozy whatsits, or it's just a lot easier to adjust my tension where I have kind of a range of perfection that it has to be because those two thread colors are really blending together. Melinda says, I debated the investment last year, so I've watched some of your tutorials, but have yet to attempt them. Oh, and I signed up for July. Oh, that is amazing. Okay, that makes me so happy. So hopefully you've gotten your welcome package by now. I'm trying to think if there are any Australian orders that have not shipped, and I'm pretty sure I haven't shipped an Australian welcome package in a little bit. So hopefully that means you have your welcome package with you, and that will give you a good opportunity to start looking through the book and watching the on-demand videos. But that is so awesome, Melinda. Thank you so much for joining the class. I think you're really, really going to love it. Whit says, I was just about to ask if you could iron satin. Yes, you can iron it. If you're worried about the heat, you can always just put another piece of fabric over the top of it, or even flip your whole quilt sandwich upside down and quilt it from the back. Or just make sure you start with a very low heat on your iron and test it before you do like the highest heat. So great question, Whitney. Jocelyn says, do you have a preferred batting for graffiti quilting, or does it depend on your project, functional quilt versus wall hanging? So my preferred batting like brand for pretty much everything I do is the Warm Company, and I keep 2 of their battings in stock. I have the Warm and Natural and the Warm and Plush. And so I decide which batting to use based on the project. So typically if I'm making a functional quilt, because I like really warm quilts, I run cold naturally. And so if I'm going to put a quilt on me, I usually want to get like sweaty underneath it. And so I'll use 1 layer of Warm and Plush for a functional quilt. And then for like a wall hanging quilt, I will use 2 layers of batting. So that can either be 2 layers of Warm and Natural, or even sometimes 2 layers of Warm and Plush, which makes it super duper thick. But I like my wall hanging quilts to be super stiff. So that's kind of my recommendation. Obviously there's lots of great batting companies out there that make good quality batting. Warm Company, I have had a relationship with that company for quite a few years now. And it was really cool because when I started quilting and started kind of making a name for myself and having some like notoriety in the industry, they reached out to me and were just very, very complimentary. Like they really buttered me up, but they also have just been so supportive of my career. And so they are like my main go-to batting because A, it's a really good product. I've been very happy with it, so it's easy for me to endorse. But I also have no reason to like try anything else because I've always supported and been in partnership with the Warm Company batting. So that's kind of my answer to that one. Thanks for that question, Jocelyn. I'm glad to see you here. Jocelyn and I were just at the Stitch Together retreat with Chelsea Porter at the beginning of May. It was so fun. So yeah, Jocelyn, it's good to see your name in the comment section. Whitney says, Melinda, you're going to have so much fun. Oh, thanks, Whitney. Whitney took my class in 2024. She was part of the 10-year anniversary cohort of Graffiti Quilting. So thanks, Whitney. Teresa says, Melinda, the investment is so worth it. You guys are so sweet. Oh, okay, Melinda, she did say I ate all the caramels, so that means you got your welcome package. Good, so that makes me happy. So anytime I ship a welcome package for my class, I always put homemade caramels into the package. And I don't sell homemade caramels. That's the only way you can get them is by becoming my friend. Like, it's my little bribe to you. So awesome. Okay, so I have my purple bobbin in and my purple thread on top. And I'm going to move this over. So let's go to the quilting camera. And I'm just going to raw dog it with this one. I didn't baste it, and I'm not even stitching down the, I'm not safety pinning down the corners. Sometimes I'll do that. If I'm feeling a little bit paranoid, then sometimes I'll just stitch a large stitch around the very edge of my quilt. But you know what? We're just going to go for it. So With this particular quilt, I am not planning anything kind of with rhyme or reason. I just want to go and let my brain flow. So I also did that similarly with this quilt, this pink one. Oh, sorry, you can't see it very good. Let me see if I can tuck it under here. So this quilt doesn't have a super specific layout with it. Like there's some areas where I kind of went off on little tangents of different designs. And this quilt and the same one, the one that I'm about to do, are just really good practice pieces for kind of getting into a flow state with quilting. So what I like to do on my sit-down oriented quilting machine is I will just pick a random start point. And I also, sorry, hang on. I was in the wrong mode. Okay, when I was expecting technical difficulties, I was not expecting them from my machine, but I was in the wrong mode and pushed a button that I was not meaning to push. So let me just reset my machine and cut this thread out. Well, I was like mid-sentence. Oh yeah. So I like to find kind of just a good flow state with my free motion quilting. One thing that I feel like has really helped me to alleviate a lot of the stress or pressure or anxiety around quilting is reminding myself that not every quilt has to be this major masterpiece of like planning and execution. Sometimes it's nice to just have a small piece of fabric that I can just play. It's just a playground for my quilting machine. So if you find yourself wanting to jump more into free motion quilting, but feeling like your anxiety is in the driver's seat, then my recommendation would be just start small and simple, low stress, use fabric that is not special to you, and just set a timer for like 20 minutes and get set up to the point where you can just let your hands move without caring what the final result is going to look like. It's crazy to look back at my journey of learning how to free motion quilt and realizing how much of those early practice days were literally just that. There was no end goal, and it was just a really small piece of fabric that I treated it like a piece of paper, like a canvas that is just like, I just want to fill this space in and see what happens. And so I find personally that that's a really good way to alleviate a lot of the stress, because I think sometimes the stress is half the battle, or the anxiety of fear of messing up is half the battle. And so if we can overcome that, that's when our true like flow state can really shine. Melinda says, I ate all the caramels. Whit says, I invested for the caramels. That's awesome. Teresa says, I love Warm Company products. Dude, same. So good. Melinda says, caramel making would make a good live stream bonus class. Maybe I should do that. I mean, I'd have to figure out a good way to live stream in my kitchen, but I should just make a video, like a tutorial video. You did get the recipe card as well. So when you inevitably run out of caramels, and then even more inevitably get like withdrawals from the caramels, you can make your own batch. Celeste says, do you find yourself holding your breath as you're moving from one quilting motif to another? Not holding my breath, but I do notice now when I feel like my brain is not keeping up with my hands, or vice versa. And so sometimes it's good to just pause. So let me go back to my quilting camera here. And I actually like to set my needle setting where it stops in the down position. So like, let's say I'm just quilting a motif, but then I get to a point where I haven't thought far enough ahead of where I'm going to go next. I like to have my needle just stop in the down position. I wonder if we should zoom in a little bit. Do you think it's close enough, or should I go in a little more? Okay. If you guys want to see it closer, just let me know. But I like to have my needle stop in the down position just because then I can rotate, I can adjust, or I can take that deep breath that I need if I have been holding my breath. So sometimes I can see that happening where there's like the anxiety is starting to make me like not be able to control my breath as well. And so it's okay to stop and be calm. And if you find that you are spending a lot of time in between breaks from one motif to the next, then what you can do is slow down the speed of your machine and calibrate your arms to that slower speed as well. So like for instance, my like magic speed is 700 stitches per minute on my sit down machine. I feel like that's a perfect speed for how fast my brain can go, where I can get a good quality like 12 to 15 stitches per inch while still getting smooth lines. So you'll start to figure out what that speed is for your machine. But I find that if I'm spending a lot of time pausing and just like trying to think about what to do next, chances are maybe my speed is a little too fast and I can slow things down. So like, let's say if I go down to 500 stitches per minute, and let's do some quilting at this slower speed so you can see what that's like. So maybe you can hear the difference in speed from 500 versus if I move it up to 700. So now hear and watch that speed difference. And so if I feel like I can kind of calibrate my arms to that continuous speed, then I feel like I've kind of found that magic sweet spot. Where usually after I am like just on the finishing line of whatever motif I'm working on, I can start moving towards whatever motif I want to do next. But if I find my brain is not able to keep up, where like when I finish my feather, when I'm on my last feather plume, my brain is kind of doing that muscle memory of finishing that thing. But then I can kind of start to have a plan in place for what I want to do next. So I've got my skeleton down with my feather, and then maybe I want to overstitch around this outer edge. Can you see this quilting okay? Is it nice and okay? And let's maybe do another pass up in here. So when I was quilting my feather plume, I didn't have the plan to do these little teardrops inside, and that's okay. I don't have to think so far ahead. Like for instance, I have no idea what I'm gonna do over here, but I don't have to right now. That's okay. I'm just getting through one thing at a time. So I'm really taking this quilt in a very free form structure. And letting it go wherever it wants to go. I have no idea what I'm even gonna do with this fabric when it's done, and I don't have to know that right now, and that's okay. So Whitney, since I see you're here, I know one of Whitney's favorite designs is called the snowman, so let's do that one. That's a good show-offy design. So with the snowman, we first do a regular size body and a head, and then we do a chubby body and a little head, and then we do a little body and a big head. Doesn't that look like such a show-off design? It looks a lot harder to quilt than it actually is, but when you remember just the different body and head types, that's a really fun one to quilt. So you're welcome, Whitney, because I know you love that one. So now I've just finished that kind of flower petal shape, and I am just doing a little cluster of pebbles now. And again, all of this is being made up on the fly. I literally did not know I was going to do this pebble cluster until right now. Okay, how is this fabric showing up? Can you see it good? Should we zoom in and get a little bit finer detail? Let's maybe go in just a little bit and see. So we can get really up in there, get up in my grill. I really want it to feel like you're sitting on my lap while I'm quilting. So just imagine your hands right on top of my hands like Ghost. How's that? Is it worse or is it okay? Okay. Okay, you guys in the comment section, let me know. Okay, Melinda says view is good, but did you say that before or after? Oh, okay. Let me zoom out just a little bit then. There we go. That's the halfway point. So Celeste is asking, do you ever use the mode that speeds up or down when you move? Regulated mode. So my machine has regulated mode. So these are like sensors that are built into the table that send a message to my machine. Think of them kind of like an upside down mouse pad, or a mouse, laser. Yes, a mouse laser. So it's kind of the same idea where it tracks the movement of the fabric. And I personally, so when I first learned how to use a sit-down oriented quilting machine, I didn't have access to a regulator. So I don't, but I can show you kind of what that looks like based on this machine. So I'm pushing the foot pedal down. And it's supposed to kind of track those movements, but I don't love it. So you can see that the needle is kind of, I feel like maybe it would be better for larger quilts where the movement is bigger, but because my movements are so small, I don't like to use that. So anyways, when I learned how to quilt, the stitch regulator on a sit-down quilting machine didn't exist. So I didn't have access to learn how to use that, and now I've just gotten really good at manual mode. So personally, I like to stick to manual mode, and I have trained my arms to move in relation to the machine instead of trying to expect the machine to move in relation to my arms. And so for me, that has worked. But I know that some people really love the stitch regulation. But okay, here's another thing. Another thing about me when it comes to stitch regulation, I am not a stitch regulated purist. Like, I'm not the person who's going to give a crap about if the stitches are exactly 12 stitches per inch or exactly 15 stitches per inch or exactly the same amount of stitches per inch, like for each inch section. It's just something that I don't care about. And I feel like if someone in your life is criticizing your stitch length, like, you don't need that. There's a lot of things to like concern yourself with as you are learning how to free motion quilt, and having perfectly spaced stitches per inch, I feel like is something that's just not important to me. So that's kind of my spiel on that. If you have a stitch regulator and you like it, then that is wonderful. Now on a stand-up long arm quilting machine, that's a different story because it is so well designed and integrated into the machines to regulate and follow your movements of your body. But also the movements of your body are naturally smoother because you're working on a wheel system. Whereas this, we're dragging fabric across a table. So it's not really, it doesn't really do a good job. And I'm kind of, what I am a purist about is like good mechanical and technical design. And this will be my hot take, so just take it for what it is. But I feel like stitch regulation on a sit-down machine was just kind of like a ego measuring contest for all of the quilting and sewing machine companies to be able to say and put on their sales sheet, oh, this machine has stitch regulation, because there were those like either quilt show judges or those like snobby quilt police who were like, your stitch length needs to be perfect. And it feels kind of like manufactured outrage to care super deeply about a stitch regulator on a sit down when really you can achieve a good regulated moderated stitch as you learn how to quilt. It comes with those movements. Part of moving in the correct direction or the direction for your design also includes learning how to move in a smooth motion instead of like, right. So anyways, that's kind of my maybe unpopular opinion, maybe hot take. I don't know. I'd be curious to know. I hope I don't come across as like a brat, but that's what I think. So, and maybe there's part of me that's like petty because I had to force myself to learn how to have a good, nice stitch without a stitch regulator. So it's just something that I was able to get along without it just fine. And so it's for me like if it's not broke, don't fix it sort of thing. But I also feel similar about gloves. So a lot of people will ask me if I use quilting gloves for extra grip. And my answer is similar in the sense that like I didn't know gloves were a thing. So I just learned how to get my grip, or I also just like give myself a little bit of moisture in my hands and that restores my grip. And I don't like my sweaty hands in glove feeling. So anyway, so that's kind of my 2 cents on that. Teresa says, if you use solid colored fabric, most regulators will struggle. It is better when there is a pattern for the laser to differentiate distance. That's interesting. That didn't even occur to me to think about that. That's very interesting. Celeste says, do you do all one thread color throughout, then change colors once it has enough purple? Yes and no. So like with this particular quilt, I literally have no plan. In fact, I was thinking if I were to get through one whole bobbin on camera, that would be the thing that prompts me to change to a different color because I just have bobbin here. So how I decide how much of one certain color to do versus a different color depends on lots of different factors. So like for instance, in the graffiti quilting curriculum, there are some layouts that are just a single color like this. And then there are also layouts that call for multiple color changes. And so in that case, the layout of the overall quilt would be the thing that dictates when to change color. So that I don't have to say like, how much is enough? Or is this enough? Or should I do more? So let me show you. So for instance, let's go to the overhead. So this is a good example. So with this quilt, you can see that there are different colors in this particular quilt, but it was determined by my layout. So the layout doesn't tell me what design is going to go where, but it does tell me when I can change color. So that's a great question. And so there's not always a straightforward answer. Sometimes it really is dependent on what my predetermined plan is, which is separate from each individual design. Like when I approach a quilt, I never know exactly what motif is going to go where, but I do have an idea of what color thread is going to go where. So, and here's, let's see, another example of thread color changes. So, great question. Thank you. That is an awesome question. Let's see. Teresa says, your mileage may vary, but that has been my experience. That is great to know. Thank you, Teresa. I appreciate that. That didn't even occur to me. But again, I have very little mileage with using a stitch regulator on a sit-down machine. And the regulation on a stand-up long arm machine is the technology on how it is regulating is completely different. On a stand-up long arm machine, there is no laser that's tracking movement. What it has, so I don't know if you guys knew this, you probably did, but a little background about me. The first experience that I had with a long arm quilting machine was learning how to test it and build it. So I know a lot about the mechanics and the inner workings of the machine. Anyways, when a long arm stand-up oriented quilting machine is regulating stitches, it's not doing that with like the same technology that a laser on a mouse would have. Excuse me. It actually has something called an encoder. So the encoder is this little disc that has like a sensor inside. So it's like there's this thing that has a sensor back and forth and then a disc that slides inside. And that disc is in relation to the wheels of the machine. So anytime the machine rolls, the encoder spins, and that tells the machine how much distance it's gone, and then based on the stitch per inch, how fast to move the needle for that distance. So that is how long arm stand-up machines are creating a regulated stitch based on the speed of your arm movements. So a little bit, well, not a little bit, a lot of bit different technology that goes into a stand-up oriented machine versus a sit-down oriented machine. So yeah. Melinda says, interesting that patterning makes a difference. Yeah, I didn't know that as either. Like, that's very interesting to me, which is kind of surprising because like, if you think about the technology of a mouse like can go on different mouse pads that have different prints and patterns on them, and it doesn't affect those. That's really interesting. But yeah, solid colored fabric, that didn't occur to me. So interesting. Okay, let's do some more quilting over here. And again, any other questions or comments that you have? Andrew is in the background moderating comments and reading them to let me know when someone has a question. So the one thing that I really love about graffiti quilting is that it really is so flexible and free form in how and where and what I do with my quilting. Like, I had no idea that this was going to look like this when I started this quilt. Like, I know I sound like a magician who's like, when we don't know each other and I have no idea what you're writing on that card, or I have no idea what card you picked from the deck, right? I always feel like I sound that way when I'm talking about graffiti quilting. But the thing that I really love about graffiti quilting is that I don't have to know those things, and neither do you. When we're quilting, it's all about really, like, what I hope graffiti quilting helps people accomplish is this, like, multiple things. Number one, getting back into your body and feeling, like, getting to know what your body feels like when it does certain motions and movements. I think there's something really beautiful and valuable about that as an artist. Being able to know that, like, I have mind control. My mind is controlling my body. Like, how crazy is that? And then what my body does determines what this fabric looks like. And then this quilted fabric would not exist if it wasn't for my body, my brain. Like, there's something just so cool about that, like, symbiosis between those different things. So that is one thing that I find really, really cool about graffiti quilting in particular. And the other one is that it really, through that movement, calls us to be present in the moment, right? Instead, I think a lot of times as quilters, there's so many parts of making a quilt that are very mechanic, right? There's like, you pick your fabric, you pick your pattern, you read the pattern, you reread the pattern, you cut your fabric, you hope you cut it right, then you piece it together, and then you unpick it sometimes, and then you piece it again. there's all these steps that are already like kind of predetermined or predestined. But then when the quilting comes along, especially the free motion quilting, there's this sense of freedom that comes with that, that I really appreciate not having to know every single step. Because I think piecing a quilt top is so predetermined, it kind of takes us away from the presence of each step, because we're looking at this long laundry to-do list, right? But with the graffiti quilting, we're allowed to just be in that little moment, that little 2 square inches or 8 square inches or whatever scale we happen to be working with. It's really cool to just have those opportunities to pull back and become present again in the moment of creating art. And I find that really incredible and really beautiful. So yeah, that's one thing I really love about free motion quilting, and especially about graffiti quilting, where it's not just another set of to-do list steps that we have to follow, where by the end of the quilt, we're like tired of looking at the quilt. That's what I never want to happen. I never want to be tired of looking at this piece of art that I've made. So, yeah, Celeste says, love that. Move with confidence. It's perfect. Melinda says, do you quilt pieced blocks with graffiti quilting or only whole cloth? Great question. So yes to both. So I do a lot of whole cloth quilting. A lot of my repertoire is whole cloth quilting because that's the background that I come from, where my piecing skills are so low, but my quilting skills are so high that I'm like, I'll just skip the piecing and do a whole cloth quilt because that's where the artistry is. But let me show you a few more examples in the textbook that can show how you can use graffiti quilting on a pieced quilt. So the first one here, so this looks pieced. This is actually a whole cloth quilt. It's a custom printed quilt top from Honest Fabric called Explosion. Oh, and you know what? I have the same panel. So that one in the book is a king size, so it's like 88 by 104. This one is the small size, which is 51 by 60, but it's also quilted with graffiti quilting. So look at how cute this is. So this definitely looks pieced, but when I show you the quilting on the back of it, you can see that I just did graffiti quilting as an all over edge to edge, where I don't acknowledge the piecing or the design of the actual quilt top. So you can use graffiti quilting on a pieced quilt just the same way that you would do an edge to edge design on a pieced quilt. But then let me go back in the book and show you a few more. So, oh, and I also have this one in my stack behind me, I'm pretty sure. So I can show it to you as well. Yes, I do. So here's another good example where I used graffiti quilting, but I also interpreted what would have been pieced. This is another custom printed quilt top from Honest Fabric, but the concept is the same as if it were pieced. So let me show you that one. Right here it is. So let me hold this one up so you can see it. So with this quilt, I interpreted the blocks and quilted. I did stitch in the ditch work for the actual stars, and you can see that in the quilting on the back. Hopefully you can see it on the back. So that's the other thing that's really cool about graffiti quilting, is it is as loud or as quiet as you want it to be. It is as much of the main event or supporting character as you want it to be. So let me show you this here. So you can kind of see that. Let me move my thread to the side. So you can see how I have interpreted those pieced blocks and quilted them and honored that quilt top design. But then around the edges and in the background, I still did that random graffiti quilting style where each area of the quilt is quilted differently. Teresa says, you'll sometimes have trouble with mice on a white laminate desktop for a similar reason. Oh, okay. That makes sense. Teresa, you are so smart. So thank you for showing up in the comments and educating us on that, because that is so interesting. Like, it didn't even occur to me to think about that. So, and of course that would translate with fabric and thread, right? Let's see. Kelly from Ozark, Missouri. Hello, it's good to see you. Oh, Teresa says, hi, Andrew. He said hi. Let's see. Nina is in the chat. Hello, Nina. She said, that is so gorgeous. Can't wait for class to start. I just bought a bunch of thread. Yes, awesome. Nina, I'm so excited to have you in class in July. Great explanation to my question. Thanks. Perfect. Yes, good. Thank you. I'm so glad. Roxanne says, best class I've ever taken. The book alone is worth the cost. Thank you. Thank you for that endorsement. I really appreciate it. I mean, I worked my tushy off over the course of a year to make this book. And it was the 10-year anniversary of when the first graffiti quilting book was published. And so there was so much that I just poured into the book. So thank you. That really means a lot to me, Roxanne. I truly, really appreciate it. Let's see. Hanover Street says, quick question. Do you also use a stand-up long arm or just sit down for graffiti quilting? Yes, I use both. So I have a long arm with a pro stitcher and then a sit-down quilting machine as well. And anyone can do graffiti quilting as long as their machine allows for free motion quilting. So it does not have to even be like a fancy sit-down oriented. It can, like, I have my Altair 2, which, I mean, that is also a fancy sit-down machine, but it's mostly fancy because it also does embroidery. But if you have a domestic sewing machine, if you can lower the feed dog so it allows you to quilt in a free motion style, then you can do graffiti quilting. Celeste is wondering, is your class in person or online? So it is online. It's a hybrid between on-demand videos that you can watch at your leisure and you just have long-term access to those videos, and then I add new videos all the time, and that is all contained within your book. There's QR codes all throughout the book that link you to those videos. And then we also do a monthly live stream. We do 6 live streams over the course of the curriculum. So it's all online. We don't ever meet in person, which, because, you know, we're all over the world. We have people in Australia and people in Canada and people in Europe and then across the United States. But we do have the live stream class sessions where you can come and ask your questions, and we kind of explore different parts of graffiti quilting in the live stream so that you really kind of have as much or as little hand holding as you feel like you need to be successful. And then, yeah, the textbook is like your lifelong buddy to have next to your machine so that as you are reviewing the concepts or learning new concepts in the book, you have that access to not only the stuff that's printed on the pages, which there's a ton of it, but also all of those on-demand videos. So for reference, there's more than 100 QR codes placed throughout the book. And between all of those codes and the online content, there's more than 100 hours worth of video content that complements what you see in the book, as well as what we talk about in the live stream. So if any of you who are watching here, if you're considering signing up for the graffiti quilting class for this year, it is not too late. Go to carlyporter.com and you can see when the first class session of the cohort starts. Also, shoot me an email and I can give you a coupon code towards your tuition as well. So my email is info, I-N-F-O, @carlyporter.com. Yeah, so I'd love to have you in class. Celeste is saying, where do I go to sign up? So carlyporter.com, on the top where it says shop and then education, click on that and the class is in there and it has all the information. Let's see, Roxanne says, oh, best class I've ever taken. Thank you. I didn't mean to read that comment twice, but I'm not mad that I did. Let's see, Liz says, hi from Australia. Looking forward to class starting in July. Hello, Liz. It's good to see you. That is so awesome. Melinda says, I will be doing it on a domestic. That is perfect. That is absolutely, totally fine. let's see. Linda says her classes are awesome. I've taken 3 or 4 and love them all. Yeah, Linda, you are an OG supporter. You've been around for a while, so thank you for that support. It means a lot to me. Okay, so should we do a little more quilting? See if I run out of my bobbin thread here. I appreciate all of the comments and all of the interaction. So also, okay, so I was thinking more about this giveaway stuff that I have. And I'm trying to, like, I want to do it in the most diplomatic way. I also had no idea how many people were going to be watching the live stream. Are you able to see like a running total of 51 people are watching currently? Cool. So, and then I was going to do it where I would say like, okay, here's a trivia question. The first person to answer it will win the prize. But then I was thinking like some people have different internet speeds and stuff like that. And like some of you are multitasking to be here, like you're doing other things while watching. And I appreciate that so much too. But I didn't want that to be a drawback. So what I think I'm going to do is kind of like, this will be kind of like a secret word thing to be entered to win a prize. And I'll do a drawing for all of these prizes. And what that will be is I want you to just send me an email saying, add me to the YouTube live drawing. That means that you watch this because this is the only place I'm telling people to send me an email telling me this thing. And then I will pull your name and your email addresses and I will do another drawing for all of these prizes. But let me show you what I have so you can see if you want to. But you can even just right now, if you're watching this and you're on your computer, shoot me an email and say, add me to the drawing, and I will make sure to add you to the drawing. But I have a lot of fun stuff. So a few years ago, I sourced some metallic yarn from Australia. But I have since stopped sourcing it just because it got too expensive for me to import. But I have all this metallic yarn in a bunch of different colors that I want to give away. So I was thinking it'd be fun to do like a set of 6 different colors of metallic yarn in a collection. So that will be part of the giveaway. And then I also have, like I said, I have been working with Warm Company for a long time. And I have all of these pre-packaged, pre-cut of batting ready to go that I can also give away. So I have battings, sew in warm fleece. Let's see, this one is fusible warm fleece, another fusible warm fleece, another batting, and then also a cute little cosmetic bag that I made with some quilted fabric. So I was going to give that away. And then I also have some custom printed quilt tops. So this one is pretty cool. This is like a recommended practice piece from the Graffiti Quilting book, where one of the design challenges in the book, because that's the thing, in addition to all of the videos and the QR codes and the almost 400 pages of the book, there's also like design challenges all throughout the book as well that challenge you in your skills and help you apply the things that you're learning to from the book to your actual quilting. And so for one of the design challenges, the challenge is to find fabric that has like a very bold specific print on it, and then just practice tracing the quilting with your quilting machine, or practice tracing the lines with your quilting machine. So I put together this panel that is 9 different designs that are awesome for practicing that particular design challenge. So I'm going to give that away. And then I also have some other custom printed quilt tops. So this one is mini quilts of my quilt Shimmering Symphony, which you guys may have heard of. If you haven't, Google it, because it's like the coolest quilt I've ever made. But there's these little mini panels where you can practice your free motion quilting with custom printed fabric of that design. So I have one of those, another one of those, and another one of those. And then also here is a cute snuggly fleece blanket quilt that I made a few years ago. I was testing out a computerized quilting design collection, and these are just fleece blankets that I bought at Walmart from they're like the bin that are like $8 fleece blankets, but I really wanted to stitch out some digital designs of a collection that I had worked on. And so this cute finished little quilt, giving that away. I also have some fun metallic silver vinyl fabric. And let's see. Okay, and then this is a grab bag of, I got the drawstring bag from the icebreaker dinner at QuiltCon that Knot and Thread put on, Caitlin Howell from Knot and Thread. And inside there's like some fun rainbow ombre strips of custom printed fabric. So like a little quilt kit, but no pattern, so you get to do whatever you want with it. And then let's see, more batting, a pattern from Bayani. So admittedly, this is the stuff I was telling you about, that it's like, I have a lot of stuff in my studio and I would happily share it and want to give it away. So I'm like, how can maybe I can just exchange fun stuff to encourage people to come hang out with me during my live stream so that I can get my YouTube monetization goal met. And so I'm kind of like doing some creative alchemy in order to do that. So if you want to be part of the drawing, email me info@carlyporter.com. So info@carlyporter.com. And maybe what I'll say, because I know that there will be some people who are going to re-watch the replay of this live stream, I will do the drawing at the end of June. So 2 weeks away. Anyone who is sitting and watching this, it proves that you hung out and watched it if you got this information to know to send me an email saying you want to be part of the drawing. And then we will do the drawing at the end of the month and I will ship all these fun goodies. Let's see. So Hanover Street said, what was the mail again? info@carlyporter.com. Nina says, I love the QR codes. I watched them on my road trip and accidentally learned about tension. No, that's so good. I'm so glad you learned about tension. That is so, so, so important. I'm kind of militant, not kind of, I am militant about making sure that all of my students understand tension of their machine, because you cannot, like, okay, I'm a firm believer in this, so I'm going to say it as an absolute statement. You cannot get into a flow state of creative free motion quilting if you are in a fight with your quilting machine. And the way that you get into a fight with your quilting machine is when the tension goes sour or something goes wrong. 90% of the time, it's the tension. You like, just let me be the mediator between you and your machine to make sure that tension is never the thing that messes up your quilting, right? So Nina, good for you learning about tension, and it was not an accident. I did that to you on purpose. That's why all of chapter 2 is a whole free motion boot camp demonstration. Like, that QR code in chapter 2 alone is an hour long of me showing you how to understand what the heck your machine is doing tension wise, so that you can have the best experience possible and be able to spend time being creative with your quilting, because you're not constantly fighting your machine and figuring out why the heck your stitches are skipping or shredding, or you're getting eyelashes, all of those tension issues that stop us from being creative. Let's see. Oh, the panel is amazing. Yes, and I have more. Y'all, I have more. I'm still actively cleaning up my studio. So just because I haven't shown something to you here in this live stream does not mean that you might not be getting it in the mail. So I will just do a drawing and I will just keep pulling names until I feel like my studio is as clean as I would like it to be. So I just want to support y'all, and I appreciate you guys supporting me and hanging out with me. I know that live streams are not for everybody. I think some people struggle with the free formness of a quilting live stream, because we're just talking, you know, it's like us just hanging out here. But I do really appreciate you guys hanging out with me and helping me get monetized on YouTube. So if any of y'all have questions about what the heck that even means, I'd be happy to talk about that too, because I've learned a lot about it, and I also think it's really important and good to be transparent about like the exchange that we're having between a professional who is trying to make a living being a creative educator And y'all who definitely love some free stuff and are happy to continue on your quilting journey and become the best quilter that you can be. And I want to give you as much as I can, but I also just like got to pay some bills, you know, so it's a good balance. So thank you for this exchange because it really means a lot to me. Okay, let's see. Shoefly Quilt says, girl, you're cleaning out your studio. Like I said, I have accumulated a lot of stuff, like especially, I'm not proud to admit this, but when Joanne's went to heaven, I went a little cuckoo bananas with the amount of fabric that I bought. And I do love it. I love it all so much, but I bought more than was responsible. And so now I'm like sharing it with y'all, which is great. And it's also fun to quilt on. Like I bought fabric that I wasn't going to just be able to go buy at my local quilt shop. So that helps me feel responsible, but the volume that I bought, I could have done better. So that means that now we all get to benefit. And yeah, I'm happy to share it and excited to share it. So yeah, so again, send me an email. Tell me that you want to be part of the YouTube giveaway drawing, and I will make sure that your name gets put in. But you have until the end of this month, June 2026, to let me know that you want to be in the drawing. So yeah. Okay, this has been awesome. We've been going for a little more than an hour. Mama Lee says, love hanging out with you. Well, thank you. I like hanging out with you guys too. So tell me, what else do you want to see? What other questions do you have? Do you want to know more about the graffiti quilting class? Oh, like I said, if you want to sign up for the class, shoot me an email and I can give you a coupon code for the class. So you can get a discount on that. Okay, another question. Let's see. Celeste says, I have your coloring book and Graffiti Quilting Volume 2. How does your new book differ? That is a wonderful question. So let me give you a little background context about graffiti quilting. So the first book was written in 2014, and it was in its infancy. Like, we'll put it that way. When I wrote the book in 2014, I didn't even know what I didn't know. And that became evident more and more every time I taught a class in person. So right after the book was published, I got invited to do an international teaching tour. So in the summer of 2015, I went to England, Ireland, Scotland, Canada, Australia, and then across the United States teaching. And I found myself teaching the class, and every time I would teach, I would get questions, or I would just think of new things that I was like, oh, okay, everybody, remember this. It's not in the textbook, but here is X, Y, and Z, right? And the more and more that I taught, the longer this list became of those things that were like, oh, this isn't in the book, but I want to teach it to you. And so in 2017, I thought to myself, okay, this book really deserves more. And I self-published, so nothing is stopping me from publishing again and adding all of those things so that I have a more complete book. So in 2017, I upgraded and enhanced and added a bunch of things to the book. And so Graffiti Quilting Volume 2 continued to help me on my journey as I was teaching students both internationally as well as across the United States. So like in 2018 that we went to Europe again? I think it was 2018. Where I went to Norway and Italy and Greece and was teaching graffiti quilting still. I also started teaching it online. And so when I would teach online, even though we weren't in person, it was really important to me to make sure that all of my students felt connected to me and to the technique. And so I would send out welcome packages with homemade caramels and stickers and fabric and sketchbooks or whatever. It's kind of changed throughout time, but it always included the graffiti quilting book. So from 2017 to 2023, the online graffiti quilting class always included a welcome package with Volume 2. So Volume 2 had more in it than Volume 1. But again, the same thing kept happening where I was like, oh man, there's still more that I can teach here. And also at this point in time in 2023, technology was advancing, right? So like QR codes and my website being able to host videos, and my video editing skills were better than they ever had been before that. And there just was so much more that I thought to myself, okay, 2024 marks the 10-year anniversary of the inception of graffiti quilting. This really deserves a celebration. And that's what the third and current book really is kind of a celebration, a love letter to the technique. But the main big, well, there's lots of differences, but one of the biggest differences was in book 3, now there are the QR codes and the online content. And the thing that's so cool about that is I'm hoping that it will prevent me from ever having to update the printed book again, because anything that I can tweak or add to or expand upon can all be included in the online content that is accessible straight from my website. And I have complete control over all of that content. Another reason that I chose to self-publish was because I'm a control freak, especially when it comes to like my own artwork. It's like, do not touch my stuff. This is mine. I want to present it how I want. I want to portray it how I want. Like, I am a control freak about those particular things, especially like even with design work, where like I didn't want someone else formatting the book. Like I don't know. I take a lot of pride in being able to do it from start to finish. So the volume 3 book, which is what's currently out now, the main big difference with that is it's about almost 300 pages more of printed pages than the volume 2 book. But then the online content just explodes with information. So more than 100 hours of online on-demand videos. And this is between like drawing diagram demonstrations and actual like face-to-face demonstrations where I'm breaking things down and we're going from the quilting machine and doing the iPad and doing the overhead and doing all of these different views. It feels a lot like what you're seeing here. A lot of the on-demand content is like that, where I have filmed it, I've taught it to, a live stream audience, and then repurpose that content where now it lives in the book. So the book is really amazing because it's still growing and it has breathing room to grow. Even though it's a tangible printed book, those QR codes keep it lively and keep it from like stagnating or getting outdated the way a printed book alone would go. So thank you for that question. It's cool to be able to explain those differences. So now a lot of people, I get the question often where people will say, I don't want to do the class, I just want the book. And because the book, the 3rd edition book, the big textbook, because those videos are woven and integrated throughout the book, my answer to that is the book and the class are one and the same. It's kind of like a left hand and a right hand. They work together in tandem, and there's not a way to separate that information because those QR codes link up to my website. So what I tell people is you do not have to participate in any part of the class, the live streams, or any of the private Facebook group where people post their progress and things like that. I have no requirements that you participate in any way that you are not comfortable or not excited to do that, but it all comes together. So when you buy the book, you buy the class. When you buy the class, you get the book, and those are always linked together in that way. So yeah. Oh, Mama Lee says, love hanging out with you. Thank you. That is awesome. Oh, Nina says, what? I want a coloring book. Okay, so here's the thing about the coloring book. So in volume 2 of Graffiti Quilting, when I published that, I also published a separate book that was just a coloring book. I had a lot of nieces and nephews who saw my Graffiti Quilting sketchbook and they were like, can I color in your sketchbook with you? And I'd be like, no, you are not touching my sketchbook. But then I thought I could repurpose those drawings and turn them into a coloring book. And I ended up dedicating that coloring book to my nieces and nephews. And so when I was teaching the class with the second Graffiti Quilting book, I also included the coloring book. But now with the new book, I have included, here it is. So in the back of the graffiti quilting textbook, I have included all of the best coloring book pages from the coloring book. So let me pull it. So like for instance, these awesome coloring book pages are just included. So you could either color straight in your textbook if you want, or you're also welcome to just photocopy these and then color them to your heart's content and share them with the kids in your life or whatever. These are just for at your disposal as you continue learning graffiti quilting. So now I don't include the coloring book as part of the welcome package for any class after 2024 because all the best ones are already in your textbook. So Nina, look in the back of your textbook because those coloring book pages are there. So you don't have to get the coloring book if you don't want to. But you know what? I will add some coloring books because I actually have 3 different coloring books that I've done. I've done graffiti quilting and then tiles and repeated patterns and then also one that is mandalas. I could totally give some of those away. So I will add to my list of giveaway prizes for the end of this month some coloring books. So those could be fun too. Yeah, let's see. Okay, so Robin asks, would love to know more about the pattern on the wall hanging in the middle beside you. It dazzles and I love it. It's like our family favorite one. So this one, okay, let me take it off the wall and I'll show it to you closer. So this is actually one of the layouts in the graffiti quilting book. This is called Full Mandala. And let me give you a closer look. Look at how beautiful that is, especially when it can wiggle around. That's when the dazzling really happens. Let me go to my overhead camera. Oh yeah, get it. It's so good and so sparkly. I need to hang this like in my house and not just in my studio so that more people can see it and drool over it because it's really one of the best. So let me tell you a little more about this quilt. So it totally looks like a computerized design, right? Like, doesn't it totally look like a Pro Stitcher computerized system stitched it out because it's like so perfect? It really is so perfect. But this is actually one of the layouts that you'll learn in the graffiti quilting course. So it's called the Full Mandala. And I love this design, this layout for a couple of reasons. Number one, every single class that I've taught inevitably has one of those students who is very logical and analytical and really thrives in structure, right? And this layout gives such good structure because even though I didn't pick out where every single design was going to go until I got to that area, I knew that once I chose a design, I was going to be repeating it over and over and over again. And so sometimes it's nice to have that structure because then there's less decisions that you have to make. And a lot of people like that. I think a lot of quilters really like that. And that's what draws them to quilting is like the patterns, right? Like with piecing, let's say you're making an entire quilt that's all half square triangles. Some people really love those because it's predictable and it's the same thing over and over again and it's still beautiful, right? Now, the second reason that this layout is so wonderful for my students is because just like Nina said in the comments, it builds muscle memory. Because once you choose that motif in that particular row, you got to do it over and over again until you finish that whole row. So it's a really good discipline builder because it's like, it's not just enough to look at this one motif and say, I really love this and I'm going to quilt it once, but to practice that same motif, what is this, 16 times? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 16 different times. By the time you're done with that 16th identical motif, you are going to be a master at that motif. And that is so great to be a master at something in quilting. So thank you for asking about this quilt because it is definitely a fan favorite. It is even like the non-quilters' favorite quilt. That's what I like to call it. Like Andrew, this is Andrew's favorite quilt out of all the quilts I've ever made. And maybe it's high time I make another one, because I picked this quilt, like I picked the colors specifically to match the Hot Fix crystals that I put on it, because I have so many Swarovski Hot Fix crystals that I won in a competition like 15 years ago. And so my goal was, I need to make a quilt that is going to let the crystals do some real heavy lifting with the showing off. And this quilt definitely did that. So yeah, so this is a layout that it also, the third bonus to this layout is that all of your quilting friends are going to be like, you are amazing. That is incredible. Where is the digital design? Where did you download that design to stitch it out? And you're going to be like, I am the digital design. I did this free motion. I just had the space and the organization that I needed to know exactly where to go and what to do. So this is a great layout as well. Sometimes I think people look at, some of my other graffiti quilting quilts that are very chaotic. Even if they're organized chaos, there's still a sense of chaos. But then, sometimes something like this where it's like everything is just predictable and organized, there is definitely a beauty and a joy in the precision structure of a mandala that I think we can all appreciate, which is really fun too. So, okay. So Melinda asks, are you using a compass to get the circles? So this one, we talk about how to mark your fabric for the layout for this one. So you will learn about that in class. In fact, you have your book already. So go to page, wait for it. Oh, I went too far. Hang on. Right here. So page 204, scan the QR code on page 204, and that's going to give you more information on this layout specifically. So, Jocelyn says, yes, we need a 2026 edition of this beauty. I know, I think I'm going to need to. I think I need to pull out the crystals again and just find ones that I can match my thread and my fabric color to. Maybe we'll do that for class this year. We'll do a mandala again. Here's something exciting, especially Jocelyn and Melinda and Nina, because you guys are in this upcoming cohort. I actually have a brand new layout in mind that is not even in the book at all. Because again, it's one of those things that's like, I don't even know what I don't know. I'm still like, graffiti quilting is still growing and expanding every single year. Luckily, there's a spot that makes sense so that I can say, here are additional layouts, even though there's not a page for it in chapter 8 of the book. But I have a new layout in mind that I'm really excited for that will be fun. So lucky you, Jocelyn and Nina and Melinda, that you're going to get to see that firsthand this coming year. So it'll be fun. Let's see. Celeste says, what if I want to start right now? So inspiring. Thank you. Okay. So the soonest you can start is sign up for the class. I can ship you your welcome package with your book. The moment you get your copy of your textbook, you can start going to town, scanning those QR codes and watching all of those videos. There's tons and tons of content that you can watch right away before the live stream in July. So if you haven't signed up, sign up now. If you want to sign up and you need a discount code, email me and I will send that to you like ASAP so you can get registered, because then I can send you your stuff. Melinda says, got my book right here. Perfect. Page 204. Go check that out. That's the other thing that's really, really cool about the textbook, is that you can go from cover to cover chronologically, in order, logically, consecutively. What is that thing he says on Schitt's Creek when he's like, I have never heard someone say so many wrong things in one at a time consecutively in order. So anyways, you can go through the book page by page, cover to cover, or if there's something that really excites you, like a specific layout, then you could totally skip to that page and read all the stuff about it and then go back and fill in the gaps as you work through the content chapter by chapter. It's really like, y'all, I was going to say, I'm not trying to brag, but like, I'm going to brag. The book is so incredibly well organized that it really will make your journey so approachable and so easily flexible. Like you can really move and ebb and flow to the things that get you excited. My main goal as a quilting educator is to get you excited to be creative, because it's kind of like fighting with your machine, right? If you're spending time fighting with your machine, you can't ever get into that creative mode. But also, if you're spending all your time fighting with your own inner monologue because you're stressed or anxious, you also can't get into a creative mode. And so hopefully, seeing a beautifully designed and very well organized book where all you have to do is take it one motif at a time and one page at a time, you can just be present in the journey instead of being like, holy crap, look at this monstrosity. How am I ever going to get through that? All you got to do is go to that one page and say, tonight, I'm going to leave this by my nightstand and I'm going to read just this one page before bed. And then you're going to dream about it. And then you're going to wake up with all this excitement to get to your quilting machine. Or at least that's what happens to me. So hopefully that happens to you too. Let's see. Lois says, love the mandala. Thank you for the live tonight. I need to sign off now. Thank you for coming, Lois. It's great to see you. That's awesome. Let's see. Okay. Tom Linda's is saying, where can I find information on the class on your website? carlyporter.com. And then at the top, there's a shop tab, and then click education. And it's right in that education tab. Jocelyn says, can't wait. I am that organized, methodical girl for this cohort. I love it. I love that. And I'm going to help you. Like, that is not a drawback at all. Both sides are, the goal is for you to identify which brain you tend to use, and we'll work with that so that we can integrate your creativity so that the thing that might have felt like a curse or like a drawback can actually be your superpower. That's what I feel like this quilt does. It shows those analytical, methodical people in the class that you can really use that to your advantage and allow that to pair with your creativity so that they can work together in harmony. So we're going to do it, Jocelyn. I can't wait. I cannot wait for you to quilt all the motifs besides stippling, right? Like we talked about at the retreat. Your world is just going to keep opening up and expanding. So that's awesome. I'm so excited. Nina says, I ordered the panel I want to embellish, and I can't wait to see it. That is so awesome. That's going to be so good. Leanne says, sorry if you already covered this, but is the access to the class QR codes lifetime? No worries at all. That's a great question. And yes, so the thing that is not lifetime access are the long form live stream classes. So right now, the way that we do those classes are in a private Facebook group, and Facebook's policy is that they delete live stream videos after 30 days, which makes sense because, you know, as we're all learning, everything is stored in a data center somewhere, and every data center has hard drives that get warm unless you cool. Like, I totally understand Facebook's deal with deleting after 30 days. So the only thing you don't have access to is the link to Facebook where you could click that and watch the 3-hour class all as one continuous video. However, anytime I teach a class, I record that video footage, and then on my computer, I go through and I edit it and I pare it down and I polish it up. And then wherever that content makes sense in the textbook, I will include it on that digital page where that QR code is, so that whenever you want to go back to that concept, it's organized and you'll be able to find it exactly where you need it. So if you say like, oh, in the live stream 2 months ago, I remember she talked something about a different layout. Okay, now let's go to the book. What chapter is the layouts? Chapter 8. Okay, let's scan the QR code for chapter 8 and go to chapter 8 and find in that list. So it's all just so organized. Like I can't toot my own horn enough about how well thought out this textbook is, so that it can be very easy for you to access. So then all of the videos that are on my website, whether you took the class in 2024 or whether you're taking it this year and 2 years from now, you're like, okay, I want to dive in back into graffiti quilting for this particular thing, or I have this particular quilt top that I want to tackle in this way, you can scan those QR codes, log into your account on carlyporter.com, and not only can you see those videos that I added in 2024 or 2025 or whatever, but anything new that has to do with that concept, I continuously update my website with the latest information, and you get access to that. So I also keep a running email newsletter list specifically just for the Graffiti Quilting alumni, where anytime I add something new, you don't have to go through the whole book and try to figure out what's new and what you've already watched. I send you an email and I say, what's new in GQ? And here's a link to this, and here's a link to this, and here's a new video for this, and you get access to all of that. So it's like you're in a subscription model, but you only ever pay for the subscription one time. And you just get access to all of that. Because my goal, again, my goal is to make sure that you have everything you need on your quilting journey to be the best free motion quilter you can be. And I have figured out that this organized book is a phenomenal way to be able to accomplish that. So yeah, that's a great question. And it's totally fine if I've already covered it. You can ask me anything, anytime. So yeah. Jocelyn says, are there certain additional panels beyond what's included in the welcome package you suggest we purchase for class? Nothing that I recommend before class starts. So throughout each class session, there will be different panels that I'll recommend, but nothing is required. I mean, even the design challenges that we do in the book, I will recommend different things, but like I'm never going to be like, everybody turn in your design challenge homework. Like if you want feedback on your homework, I'm so happy to provide that. But this is it's a buffet. So you take what you want, you leave what you don't. You can tell me the things that you don't like and why, or you can not. That's totally fine. It's totally up to you. So yeah, so there are different panels. And if you want to, like, there's no required panel in order to be successful at graffiti quilting. The one that I include in your welcome package is just a good set of mini quilts that are great for practicing graffiti quilting, but even those are not required to be used. The only thing in the welcome package that is like required is the book itself. Everything else is just like fun because I love you sort of stuff that I like to send. So Nina says, I have my binder ready. Perfect. Yes. A+ for you so far. Jerry says, is there a recommended amount of time to spend each week on this class? So not really. Because the classes live on for a long period of time, you can really do them at whatever pace is comfortable for you. What I typically like to do though is, because we have one live stream per month, what I do is I'll send out an email to all the students asking them to read the printed book, the first, or whatever chapters we're covering. So for instance, in July, we will be talking about chapters 1 and 2. What I hope is that my students just, at the minimum, read the pages of those 2 chapters. So for instance, chapter 1 and 2 is from page 0 to, let's see. There's 1, part 2, design challenge. Okay, so from page 1 to 65 is the first 2 chapters of the book. I know that sounds like a lot of reading. However, different chapters will require more reading than others. So it just kind of depends on which class we're talking about. But I typically like to ask my students to just read the chapters in the book so that they have a basic understanding. Because really what you'll want to do is when you come to the live stream, that is the perfect time to ask your questions about those chapters. So having read them makes it easier for you to ask questions. And that also helps me flesh out anything in the book that maybe isn't answered, because I can see how many people are asking the same types of questions. Then I answer that question on camera. Then I take that video footage and I integrate it back into the book so that next year's class will have that information, and it'll just keep on filling gaps tighter and tighter. So great question. Thank you so much, Jerry. Nina says, I feel like it brings you through a creative process. It guides you to be creative. Yeah, that was my goal. So I'm really glad that it's kind of translating that way. Fuzzy Face Place Leah says, I have your previous books and can't wait until I can take this class. Your style and teaching have inspired my long arm journey so much. Thank you. That is awesome. Thank you so much for saying that. I really, really appreciate that. If you want to jump into this year's cohort, it's still not too late to sign up. And if you shoot me an email, I can give you a discount code on class. So yeah, I would love for you to join. I think you would really love it. Melinda says, I'm really looking forward to learning with you. The book is wonderful. Thank you. That is so sweet. That's, I really appreciate that. Nina says, I was an engineer student. I'm really excited to ignite this for myself. I love that. Oh, not a student, retired, a retired engineer. That is awesome. As an engineer, I think you can appreciate the organizational structure of the book because of that. But yeah, like I like to introduce myself as a creative instructor, like my goal is to help you pull out the creativity that's already inside of you. And I can give you all the vocabulary and kind of help you put words to the things that you're visualizing and seeing, and then also give you really good practical tips and tricks and advice on how to implement good skills, good practice skills, so that you can keep on pulling that creativity out of you that's inside of you. So, all right, you guys have been so awesome. I was not sure about how long this should go, but we're approaching the 2-hour mark, and I think it's been really fun. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate spending time with you guys. If there's no other questions, then I think we will close this up. I know there's like a 20-second delay between me saying this and seeing comments come in, so I won't sign off just yet. But yeah, I would really love to spend more time with y'all, and I appreciate just being able to chat with you guys and show off a little bit on my machine. Now that I have this quilt started, I'm gonna work on it some more. Maybe I'll do another live stream on YouTube where it's less talky and more quilty, where you can just watch quilting. I've learned that there are actually a lot of people on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube who maybe don't necessarily want to learn how to free motion quilt. They just really enjoy watching free motion quilting, like ASMR style quilting. So this will make a good quilt that I could do some more video footage like that, which is kind of fun. Okay, another question. How long until the sign up ends? So I actually don't close my registration. If you want to sign up now, you definitely still have time. I can get your welcome package shipped to you. And if you're in the United States especially, you will have it in time for class on July 11th. But I leave it open. My class is very much the more the merrier. If you are just finding out about the class and you want to hurry and jump in this year, wonderful. I'd love to have you. Or if you want to sign up, but maybe you're not ready to start until next year, you can just let me know and I can add you to the next year's registration. But yeah, I like to leave it open because I don't know. I think there are some like sales tactics that people use where they'll say like, there's a limited amount of spots, or sign up now because blah, blah, blah. Like it's going to get full. But like I'm teaching online and we're all sitting in our own sewing room. So like it's not going to get full. Like I will make space for anyone who wants to have a space in the class. So, one thing that I will note though is that typically in about November, for the following year's cohort, I reset my pricing and I do early bird pricing. So that is something to think about. So if you want to jump in now is awesome. If you want to wait until next year, then just get on my email newsletter list so that you can watch for when early bird pricing opens for registration for the following year. That just kind of helps me keep the waves of students manageable. But yeah, I also try to be as generous as possible in terms of like, if you sign up now and something comes up or you see a better price somewhere or something like that, I do my best to be honest and generous in making sure that, you are getting taken care of. So yeah, to answer that, there's never an ending to when signups close. It's just we go in waves of every cohort, so you can ride whatever wave is most comfortable for you. Thanks for sharing your talent. You're welcome. Thank you for watching and hanging out. You guys are so sweet. Thank you for your time tonight. Looking forward to starting the graffiti class next month with you. Thank you, Robin. I'm happy to have you. You are welcome. Shoe Fly Quilts. Love your ASMR. Yes, good. I'm glad. I will have more of that because, like, y'all, I can't even tell you how much quilting footage I have on my hard drive that I'm like, why do I not just put this on YouTube? Especially if this whole YouTube monetization situation pans out, the more hours of content that I have for people to watch, the better. So anyways, yeah, I have a whole playlist called ASMR quilting. So if that's something you're into and you want to just like put on an audiobook and just let your eyes zone out watching really, really amazing quilting, then check out that playlist because that's a good one. And it helps me reach my watch hour goals for YouTube monetization. Yeah, Leah says, thanks. I've got a few big client quilts to finish and get paid for. Get it, girl? Yes, I totally understand that hustle. So anyways, all right. You guys have been so wonderful. Thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight. Andrew, did you see about how many people, what was the 52 was the high? That's awesome. That's so great. I was like thinking if 5 people came, it would be a success. What I didn't want was to talk to an empty room. So thank you guys for being here. Again, send me an email saying you want to be part of the drawing, the giveaway drawing for all these cool prizes. And we'll do that at the end of the month. And I think I'll try to schedule another live stream and practice this again. There are some other features with YouTube streaming that apparently I've unlocked with the monetization. One of them is like being able to send money, like a tip, like where you can do a tip. But I'm still trying to figure out if that's something I want to even like try to ask for because it seems a little bit, I don't know. Are you able to see on your computer where you could like send me a tip? Because that should be, oh, you have to be logged into YouTube. Okay. Anyways, something to think about. Kind of cool, but it's a delicate balance between giving freely, but then also like asking people to tip. Like it's a weird thing, you know. Melinda says, always talk as though you have an audience. Never know who watches on replay. That is true. I would still be doing that. I'm just glad I didn't have to. So thank you for being here. All right, this was so much fun. I'm sure there will be a few people that will watch this on replay. But yeah, thank you all for being here. And I appreciate you guys so much. I'm guessing that some of you have already sent me an email saying, add me to the drawing. So that's awesome. I'm probably not going to like talk about that a ton outside of just this video. Because then those of you who did take the time to actually hang out with me will get a prize. So, yeah. Okay. This has been so fun. My throat is a little bit sore, so I'm going to go eat a lemon or something. And I hope you all have a wonderful night. I cannot wait to see you guys in my first graffiti quilting class session in July. It's going to be so fun. And of course, if at any time you have any questions about anything quilty or about graffiti quilting, I am here for you. So until next time, I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful night. Oh, Leah says, I don't see the tip thing, but I know some quilters are doing a YouTube membership thing. I've seen that as well. I think that's another thing I just unlocked was the membership thing, but I'm also on the fence on if I want to do that. So I don't know. What I really want, my main goal is for y'all to get everything for free and then Google pay me money because people pay for ads on my videos. So I'd rather have Google, be our sugar daddy so that we can just not have to have very much financial exchange for the free content that's on YouTube. So yeah, Rady Baby says, so glad I found this. I'm going to watch it on replay to see what I missed. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, well, I'm going to let y'all go. Let me make sure I know how to end this stream correctly. But until next time, I love you all so much. And thank you for being here and happy quilting. Okay, see you later. Okay, so should I click stop recording?